Well, hey there. Today I've got something special for you. Today is the start of a new concept that we're going to be doing this year, and that is themes of the week. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, if you listen to my podcast, Great Quotes for Coaches, you heard me mention it this past Monday or in this past Monday's episode. I'm going to start doing a theme of the week from the podcast episode on Monday to these videos on Wednesday to the blog posts that I write for Friday. And those you subscribe to my newsletter, which I imagine is a lot of you, each week when I send that out on Friday, and I send you the links to the podcast episode, links to these videos, and then I have the blog post in the newsletter, or at least a portion of it, that then sends you to my website, SlamDunkSuccess.com. There'll be a strand, a theme running through all three of those. Okay, I decided to do that, for a few reasons, but I just think it'll do a nice job of tying some things together. And I've been wanting to do something like this for a little while. So the quotes, the videos, and the posts will all have a certain thread to them. So this week, we are starting with the theme of failure, especially public failure. Some of you might be thinking, oh, that sounds really uplifting. Well, it actually is, because I think it's a really important thing that we as coaches and as leaders and as parents need to help our kids learn how to deal with. Heck, we need to learn how to deal with it ourselves, don't we? And so it's an important thing to learn, help kids learn that A, it's okay. Failure is a part of life. Okay. And B, it's especially okay if the failure that you have is done when you're trying your hardest and you're fully focused on your task, doing things the right way. And that's a lesson that we've taught through proactive coaching, the organization that I speak on behalf of. We talk about that all the time. Mistakes made with full effort and at full attention, those are great mistakes. We as coaches, we as teachers, we as parents, we need to dignify those mistakes when our kids make them. We also need to dignify them for ourselves, by the way. Because if your kids or you, whoever it is, have given everything you've got to something, you've worked hard at it, and you're doing things the exact right way, the way you've been taught, okay, and at full speed, full attention, but you failed, you had mistakes, oh, well, it's going to happen. We're all human. That's going to happen. But if I, as a coach, start ripping into a kid about it, or I start, if I pull him out of a game because of it, well, I'm teaching him that you can't make mistakes. You can't fail in our program. He's going to be crippled. He's never going to be able to compete fearlessly. Okay, and there we go. The fear of failure. He'll never be able to get past it, and he'll never trust me. Now, when those mistakes are made, with a lack of effort or a lack of attention, well, then I got to deal with that as a behavioral issue, because that's what it is. So this concept of failure is a key component to the success that we're trying to build for our kids, for our teams, and for ourselves. I wrote a blog post a few years back called Failure is an Option. And I wrote it in response to, or as I was thinking about the great movie Apollo 13 and Ed Harris's character. Gosh, I forget the name of him, because there's a real man. Grimsley, something with a GR at the start, I think. Anyway, he was one of Mission Control, one of the NASA directors down in Mission Control while Apollo 13 is up, like orbiting the moon or wherever they were, and they had their massive problem, massive issue, and it's up to the guys down here on the ground to figure out how are we going to get them home. And Ed Harris comes in and says, failure is not an option. What a great line. I have chills thinking of it. And he's absolutely right in that instance. Yeah, it's not an option. We have to find a way to get those three guys home. But for most of life, failure is an option, and it's a darn good one. So you're thinking, what do you mean it's a good? Well, we don't want failure. We don't want to fail, but it's an important thing for us to learn how to do, because it's going to happen. We're going to have failure. And so how do I get past that? How do I grow from that? I did a series on quotes by John Maxwell on the podcast over like from June to end of the year. Just a couple weeks ago, we finished it up 3 weeks ago. And so many great quotes. If you aren't reading John Maxwell, you're missing out. You have to be reading John Maxwell. Anyway, he has a book called Failing Forward, specifically about the concept that, yeah, we're going to fail. That's what leaders do. That's what people do. But the most important thing is we keep moving forward through it, from it. We learn from it and grow and develop. Well, we need to teach that to our kids. We need to teach that lesson to our kids, and then we need to also model that lesson as well. It's an extremely important part of our coaching, our teaching, our parenting, that, yeah, you're going to make mistakes. Yeah, you're going to have failure, but it's okay as long as you do that, focused on doing it the right way, giving everything you've got to it, trying as hard as you can. So I'm going to read the quote that I read in the podcast episode this week. It's a quote by James Clear, the author of the book Atomic Habits, one of my favorite books ever. Read it just a couple years ago. Outstanding. Highly recommend it. Okay. And here's the quote. And it's actually, he's talking about sports in here, but you'll see how this can transcend sports and go to a lot of places. He says, one of the great gifts of sports is learning how to fail in public. People never go to the gym because they're scared of looking stupid, never share their writing because they're scared of judgment, or never open their heart because they're scared of rejection. Sports train you to face your fear. What a great quote, great concept. The 3 sentences in here. First one of the great gifts of sport is learning how to fail in public. So I've been talking about failure here this whole first 7 minutes, okay? But now let's talk about public failure, because that's what sports are. It's public failure. Every possession, whatever sport you're in, every moment in a sporting contest, there's failure. And here's the thing, it's public. You got in games, you got fans watching and then player teammates, other team in practice, you got your teammates, you got other people maybe in, who happen to be watching. You're going to make mistakes and others are going to see you. In contests, games, it's even worse because there's a lot of emotion at stake as well. So sports teach us how to deal with that. And it's an important thing to have to learn. It's an important lesson to learn, and it's an important thing to help us learn to get through those moments where we do fail or we do make mistakes, okay? But it's up to us as coaches to help our kids get through those. Yes, they need to fight. They need to persevere. They need to learn how to do that. They need to grow from it. So think about in practice. I teach a kid a new move, or the kids a new move, and now they practice it. And they I'm a basketball coach. Dribble it off the foot. They turn the wrong way. Whatever they do. Okay, come on, turn around. And they're failing. But all of a sudden, they get one. And they get it again. And now they start to get it. Now they're okay. Now they're feeling comfortable with it. What do? I give them another move, or I add something to that move and make it harder. Or now we put a defense on them. Or we get into 5-on-5. Or, oh my gosh, and now they got to start the process over. So we're constantly doing this to them. But isn't that what we've been doing to them since they were in school as little kids? You learn your letters, then you learn how to put them into words, then you learn how to put them into sentences, then you learn how to right? We're constantly adding to it. That's okay. That's good. That's how we grow and learn. So with sports, it's the same way, but we have to help them through that. Right? And so this is where that concept of, full effort, full attention, let's dignify those mistakes, let's dignify that failure and help them get through it. In games, though, we add that element of emotion and, I don't want to let my teammates down because I might make a mistake. And that was me, and that's where I struggled as an athlete. I was a basketball player. I was fine in practice. The moment I got in games, I was so worried about them and so worried I would make mistakes and screw it up for my teammates. And I didn't want to do that, and my coaches, really never helped me get through that. I'm not blaming my coaches. That's not on them. That was on me. However, I am saying that as a coach myself, and I'm telling you as a coach, those of you who coach, we can help our kids with this. We can try to help them get through that and help them understand It's okay. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to fail. Let's learn from the mistake and let's try to get to a point where we aren't making that mistake anymore and move on. But let's get ready for the next one and let's keep advancing. And so there's the concept failing forward. All right. Then how James Clear then talks about, people won't go to the gym because they don't want to look stupid. They won't share their writing because of the fear of people judging them, or they won't open up their heart to somebody else because they don't want to be rejected. Yes, this happens to us all the time, right? But then he says sports train you to face your fear. Yes, there are so many moments in sports where all of a sudden I have to deal with this if I want to keep playing. I'm so grateful that was my son, that he got to learn how to face failure, how to face his fears, and move past them through sport, or as one of the avenues that helped him do that. He was a soccer player, basketball player. And again, I've said it earlier, where else do we want them to risk failure and risk, making mistakes in front of others? Right there, there's nowhere better. My son goes to the free throw line late in the game with 2 free throws to shoot, down by 1, and he misses them both. That's a great experience. And most people are like, what do you mean that's a great experience? That would suck. No, it's a great experience because he learns, okay, I need to do that. I need to practice more, whatever it is. And then we hug him. We tell him it's okay. Keep at it. You'll be fine, and we help him get through it. All right. As I said earlier, those elements where we don't want them risking, they might not ever recover from those. But from sports, oh, what a great place to learn how to face your fears, how to risk failure and still come out on top. So I love this topic of failure. I could do a lot more. I'm gone 12 minutes here, and I could do so much more on it. And I probably will at other times. And like I say, we talk about this in some of our presentations. So you should consider booking us to come speak at your school for a variety of things that we do. But contact me, Scott at SlamDunkSuccess.com. Be happy to talk with you about what we can do for you. Or go to Proactive Coaching's website, proactivecoaching.info. Go to their Facebook page and contact Rob, contact Bruce, and see about hey, how can we get a speaker out to speak at our school? Because these are some of this is just one of the many things that we can come talk to you about. Or read some of our materials, some of my materials, SlamDunkSuccess.com. Or when you're on Proactive Coaching site, check out Bruce Brown's materials. Got a lot of ways for you to try to deal with it. But this concept of failure, so much great stuff, and helping yourself get better with it, and you helping your kids get better with it. I think it's a really important thing for us to do. Check out my blog post on Friday where I'll go in a little bit more detail. And I'm trying to keep those posts down on, around 1,000 or under 1,000 words, 750 words. Ooh, this could be a tough one to see. Maybe, we'll see what happens with it. But anyway, check that out. And then check out Great Quotes for Coaches. I think you'll like that podcast a lot. And then come back next week for our next video and see what the theme is next week. I'll talk to you then.